Hey everyone, Robert here, author of Expansion Mastery, the practical guide to living a fully engaged life. Are you ready to start living? Are you ready and willing to transform yourself and your life from ordinary to extraordinary? Welcome, my friends, to the Fully Engaged Life. Welcome back to the show, everyone. In the previous episode, I began introducing the idea of the year of unity, the year of human harmony, which will be 2018. I feel we will start to see this take shape if we look around, but we can actively participate in it as well and help it to gain the energy and momentum that it so deserves. In the previous episode, I spoke of the very first step, which is the unity of self, how to bring our body, mind, and spirit into a state of harmony. This is the second step. This is how we begin to share it in the world around us once we have attained it for ourselves. And you don't have to wait until, you have some sense of success or whatever with the first one, but we're working on yourself at all, making yourself a better person, the person that you know you are meant to be. As you're doing that, you can begin sharing this same sense of unity and harmony with your community. The adventure of life is to experience other people and places, and our ability to do so begins with interacting with our own immediate community. You see, the brighter we shine as we unify our own body, mind, and spirit, the better we can share our light with those closest to us. We need to cure our addictions to cell phones, computers, and sedentary lifestyles. Stop binge watching episodes of television shows on Netflix and set our fears aside. We need to get rid of the ego and begin interacting with the people around us. The people in your own household, your spouse, your kids, your parents, whatever. We need to be able to start interacting with them instead of tuning them out to tune into this other junk. We need to be able to start to get out of our house. We need to get off that sofa. We need to get out and walk around our own neighborhoods. We need to interact with our neighborhood, our community. We need to shop locally for food. We need to support the businesses in our community first. This is the area in which we live. Why would we want it to be run down? The accepted mindset has become, we don't care what happens around us as long as it doesn't bother us. So we create a little safe space within our home, and we don't care about anything else or anyone else. To hell with all of that, right? But that is the opposite mindset of unity and harmony. That is a mindset of extreme individualism, and it bolsters your ego and sense of separateness. Again, the opposite of unity. In order to interact with and create a sense of human harmony within our community, we need to know our neighbors. We need to get outdoors and walk around, stopping and speaking with the folks who live around us. We should know them and be willing to help them when they need it without expectation of reward or gratitude. When my wife and I moved into the home in which we have now, I made sure that as we met the neighbors, I gave them all a standing offer. If you need a hand with something, and I'm home, all you have to do is knock on my door and ask. I am more than happy to stop what I'm doing and go out and help my neighbors. And I've shared this experience with you in the past that I've done just that. And if I happen upon someone that obviously needs a hand with something, if they're struggling with something or whatever, I go and offer it, whether I know the person or not. But today, it seems that so many people are living in fear, they don't do that anymore. And that fear adds to a sense of division and separateness as opposed to unity. It's really amazing to me when I see people carry on long conversations with their dog, but they refuse to speak to other human beings and act extremely frightened and shocked if someone tries to actually carry on a conversation with them. This is not right. I see so many lonely people clinging to their pets, and there's so many other lonely people clinging to their pets. Imagine if all these lonely people just started to talk to one another. Pets are great. I love them. But they cannot replace the incredibly intimate connection we can have to one another as human beings from one open heart to another. We have to reclaim conversation, casual conversation, as something we can do instead of having to talk about the weather or our pets. We should be able to carry on a conversation from person to person. What are your interests? What's going on? Share something with someone and allow them to share with you to where you genuinely care. And one thing to keep in mind is as we practice to raise our vibrations, we attract people to talk to with like vibration. So you get to meet some incredible people that way. And when you raise your own vibration, that out of fear, and replace it with love and appreciation and joy, you will attract less reasons to live in fear and more reasons, more people to help you live in love, appreciation, joy, and harmony. We need to escape this mental prison of political correctness and replace it with open, honest, caring conversation for our fellow human beings. We ourselves need to be a local source of light for our community, offering a high vibration to those around us. We must learn to smile, say hello, and engage in simple interactions instead of ignoring those people who share the same community. So often I see people just ignore people. They pretend they're not there. They tune them out. Some people are just stuck in their heads. Other people are just throwing up walls to prevent these interactions. We need to tear those walls down. We need to start looking at one another in the eye instead of being afraid to do so. We need to be able to smile at one another without feeling vulnerable. We need to be able to talk to one another, because this will build a stronger sense of unity within your immediate community. Now, this is not such a far-fetched thing. It used to be like this. It used to be that certain neighborhoods, all the people knew each other, they helped each other, they interacted, they'd have block parties, they'd do all kinds of things together. But we've gotten away from that, and it's not for our betterment that we have. It used to be that we could classify our neighbors as friends. Right? I know when I was growing up, a very young kid, before I was, in school even, and just in kindergarten, first, second grade, I had a friend named Kevin. He lived next door. We interacted with our neighbors all the time. We considered them friends. And we don't do that anymore. Neighbors have become a source of irritation. But why? Why has this happened? Because we have been encouraged, wrongfully encouraged, to become so individualistic that we don't have any sense of empathy. We don't care about anyone else anymore. We don't have interactions with anyone else, and we don't care who we irritate. But this is not the way human beings were meant to live and interact with one another. When I go out in the morning, I'll take a broom because we live in a heavily wooded area. We get spider webs, so there'll be spiders, overnight. They'll have spun a web here or there. I go out and I clean above our carport, and when I do that, I don't stop at the line of where our neighbors are because we share an open garage with the person next door. I clean theirs off too. Why? Because I care about them. I don't want them to go out and have a spider drop down their neck or something and bite them. It's unnecessary. I just take the webs down. I'm mindful of how much noise I'm making. I'm mindful about the time it is and what other people might need to do, such as go to bed so they can get up for work, things like that. This sense of mindful thoughtfulness is something we are supposed to share with our neighbors. We aren't supposed to say, well, to hell with them, I don't care, I'm just going to do whatever I want. This is an incorrect attitude. It's a totally diseased, ego-driven perspective, and it's wrong. It doesn't make us feel good. It only makes our heart close up even tighter. It shuts us down, lowers our vibration. You can feel this for yourself. Reclaim it for yourself this way. Don't take my word for it. Go out and try something like this and know it for yourself. It's okay to once again have some pride for the area in which you live instead of merely using it up. Throwing trash everywhere, disturbing people with your overly loud music or bass, yelling at all hours of the day and night. These things, that's ridiculous. We should be doing things to improve our community, planting some flowers, picking up trash, maintaining a high standard of our own homes and our lawns in the area in which we live, to promote an area that we can be proud of, as well as allow others around us to be proud of where they live too. Every one of us needs to begin thinking of ways that we can personally make our community better and positively impact all of those who live in it. We need to look out for our neighbors, especially the elderly. Look after their places when they're gone, and look out for their children. When I was younger, that was one of the things that I always tried to do. I made sure that my home with my two daughters was known as a safe place that people could come if they needed it. And late one night, I had that. I had the two boys. They were left home next door. The one was maybe, 12 or so, and he was babysitting his younger brother. And they came running over, beating on my door because somebody had broke in their garage. So they went running out of the front door. They came over because they knew they could be safe. I put them in our home, and then I went out and I checked it over, and somebody had kicked their door in, and so I went in and started flipping on lights, and they took off. Okay, so I secured their home again. But I allowed them to stay with us until their parents came home. I had them throw down a couple sleeping bags in the living room, and because they were frightened, they didn't want to have to go home. I understood that, and I put a note on the door. And when their parents came home, they came over and got them. Everybody got to go home. They got to secure their home and do what they needed to do. It's just a matter of doing the right thing and looking out for one another. I mean, look at this example I saw recently of a woman walking down the street. She had a bag of groceries or something in one arm, and she had a coffee, like a Starbucks coffee or something, in another hand. And she was just walking along drinking her coffee, and a guy walked by and just hauled off out of nowhere, kicked her in the leg, and then punched her in the face and knocked her out, hurt her so badly that she was hospitalized. And a lot of these people that they're doing this knockout thing with end up dying. We never hear about that in the news, do we? But the truth of the matter is they're not just knocked out in a lot of cases. They're either dead or they are dying. Is this the way we should act towards one another in a community? And then what does everyone else in the community do? They go there and they take selfies with the person, or they videotape this, right? This is so disturbing. This is mental illness at its finest. This is separateness at its utmost. This is not how we should be acting towards one another. We should be looking out for one another. We should be able to walk by someone on the street and tip our head and say hello and offer them a smile, and they should be able to offer the same back. We should be able to feel safe in our own communities. The example I just shared is a sign that things are way out of control, that the ego is dominating the human mind, and that the mind is operating from the mentally ill state of complete dis-ease. This is not how the human race can survive. We were not meant to be this way. We were meant to be loving beings. We were meant to be caring. We were meant to be appreciative, joyful. This is what we are meant to be. We need to reclaim that sense of being. We need to be the change. We are not separate from others. We are all one. We are all connected. We have to remember that at our core, whether you call it spirit, soul, source, whatever you call it, what we are, what that soul actually is not an individual soul. It is not that you're in a ghost form, right? It's not an individual soul. When we die, the soul, if you want to use that term, is nothing more than energetic conscious awareness. And it goes back into the field around us and becomes part of everything. That's where we came from. That's where we'll go back to. We have always been part of everything, connected to everything and everyone all along. The separateness is just an illusion created by the mind. One of the focuses of spiritual practices is to help us remember that, so that we can live in a state of unity and harmony, even when we are in a state of body and mind. We need to get out of our heads and back into reality and establish a stronger sense of unity than ever before. We need to interact, to connect with those around us, sharing a sense of appreciation and joy. So first, we must unify our own body, mind, and spirit. We must be the change. We must be the example for others. And like I've shared before, the term Shihan, right, the Japanese term that's used in martial arts to denote a master instructor. One of the best examples I have of this is my sword teacher in Japan. He's in his 80s, and he was still looking out for people in his community who were older than he was. He looked after his community like no one I have ever known. He was a tremendous living example to me, right? Remember, that's what Shihan means, not just master instructor, but living example. He provided that to me in this way, and I participated with him in giving shows to a senior center in his community, to helping them prepare meals and distribute them to people in his community who were older than they were, or if they had some sort of injury or illness. All of these things that he would do, and so many more, to look after his community. And that always impressed me. And that's just one of the ways that this man's light shined on me, touched me deeply, and allowed me to see things just a little bit more clearly, and to realize that I needed to be this same way. I needed to step up a little more and help others around me in this same way. Think about it for a moment. Have you ever been that kind of inspiration for someone else? Or are you a living example of what not to do and how not to behave? The time has come when we have to ask ourselves these questions. And we have to be honest with ourselves. Only then can we make the changes that are necessary. It's a very, very small thing, but just one of the things that I like to do. We have a community pool here. We have a very small little community where we live, and we have a very nice pool, very beautiful pool out there. And whenever my wife and I go out and go for a swim, I always grab the skimmer and I'll skim it, and I'll pick up any of the trash that's there, and I'll rearrange some of the chairs nicely and things like that. And again, just little things that I can do that takes 5 minutes, 10 minutes to do, and it makes the experience better for my wife and I, and at the same time, it's going to make the experience better for others who are going to come and use that pool that day as well. Just little things like this is all we have to do to start to make a really big difference. Now, as you begin supporting your community, we have to be very careful here not to allow the ego to start creating beliefs that your community is the best. It's number one, or whatever way that manifests itself, right? It's not a sport. It's not a game. It's reality. It's not mine's better than yours. It's we need to take pride in our community, enjoy where we live, and at the same time, respect the community of others. Respect where they live and how things are done there. It's not about being better than anything. It's just about doing the right thing and interacting with people and creating this sense of community. Maybe over time, maybe it's just a block, and then over time, that one side of this block begins to interact with the side of that block, and all of a sudden now it's another block and another block and another block. Do you see how this can spread out? Do you see how something so wonderful can start to spread? This is what we're after. This is how you interact with your community. So what can we do to bring this into practice? We're aware of it now. We may even realize just how far we've allowed ourselves to slip away from community and hide away with ourselves. But now that we know this, we can start to put the second piece of the formula into play. Remember, the first place is knowledge. It's either reading, it's hearing, it's finding something out, right? It's attaining some degree of knowledge in some form. Now we have to put it into action. So what I recommend is to every day, go outside. Spend a few moments outdoors. How can you make your place a little more pleasing for you and pleasing for those around you? Maybe you become a little more mindful of how loud you're playing music or what the hour is in which you're working on a project that's rather noisy. Maybe you just get out every day and share a smile and a word of appreciation or inspiration to your neighbors. At least find one person to talk to. Get out, walk around, pick up a little trash, throw it in a garbage bag, just throw it away. It's no big deal. And while you're doing that, just smile and nod and say hello to somebody. Ask them if they're having a pleasant day. Get up and get out of the house and interact with people. Get out of the virtual reality and step back into actual reality. We have a company that comes and cares for the lawn, and they blow the leaves and do all this stuff, and they keep up all of the flowers and trees and things on the grounds. Every time they come here, if it's hot outside, I'll take these guys out a couple cold bottles of water. I always say hello. I tell them they're doing a great job, and we interact for a moment. And I just offer them a little appreciation. At one place we lived, I took out an armload of ice cold water because it was like 95, 97 degrees outside, and they had an entire crew working out in that heat. So I took these ice cold water bottles, I popped them in the freezer for a while, and I took them out there and gave them to all of the guys that were out there working. They were rather shocked at first, unfortunately, which spoke to me very loudly about the situation, but they were very shocked that somebody would do that. They were very sheepish. They didn't even want to accept these things at first. Come on, I know you guys are thirsty. Grab a water. Just have a water. And they did, and then all of a sudden they were chugging them, and then they started to smile and thank me and shake my hand and all these things. It was a simple gesture. It was a caring gesture. And in turn, all the work that they were doing for us was done very mindfully, very nicely. See, this is the exchange we can have with one another. The key here is to just get up and do something. You have to do something. It isn't enough to think about it. It isn't enough to go, I'd like to do that. No, you have to follow through. This is the point that really needs to be made, because people have a great disconnect between thinking about something and actually getting up and doing it. You can support your local businesses that you enjoy on social media. You can give them good reviews on Yelp. You can share your appreciation while you are at these establishments so that other people around you hear that. See, this is how it's done. You share your vibration this way. Raise your vibration and share that high vibration with other people to help raise their vibration. We don't want to be selfish with it. We want them to be able to enjoy it too. And just by being there and being strong and authentic in what we're saying and doing and sharing, it will help uplift their vibrations instead of lowering ours. So here's a homework exercise for you. Can you list 10 things, 10 different ways that you could begin creating a sense of unity in your community right now? Can you write those down in your journal or on an index card or something? Can you write down 10 ways that you feel you could start making a difference in your community right now? Excellent, excellent. Do that. Now comes the hard part. You have to actually follow through. Every day, make sure that you're out there. I don't care if it's just smiling and waving to someone, if it's saying hello, telling them good morning, good night, something pleasant. And be authentic about it. Be willing to share your light with others. Be strong enough as a spiritual warrior to give without the need to have to receive. And if you're acting mindfully at all, it won't take much to realize, to be able to feel that this is right behavior, that this is skillful behavior, that this is the way that human beings were supposed to interact when they're living in a community with one another. Community is about bringing people together, allowing them to live in harmony together, to protect one another, to make sure everybody gets enough food, that they have water, that they have what they need. And when they need help, they have that too. One of the things that we see today because of technology is that a lot of people have no empathy. Right? You can Google it. There's tons of reports on this, how people no longer have this sense of empathy. And we need to reestablish that in ourselves. We're meant to be empathic beings. We have to have this if we're going to live in a community. And when you are truly living with your heart open, believe me, you have enough empathy, you have enough capability to care about so many more people than just yourself or just those in your household. You have the ability to care a lot about many, many people without having to get drug into their drama. Remember, the ego loves drama. I don't need to know any of the drama that my neighbors have going on in their life. All I need to know is that if they need a hand, I will do it. All I need to know is that if I see them out there, I'm going to offer them a caring smile. I'm going to offer them some pleasant words and hopefully raise them up a little bit. This is part of the consciousness shift. This is, as it starts to ripple outward from each of us, this is how the shift is going to happen. And then as this happens, everybody will start to regain their empathy. We'll start to care about one another again. We'll start to care about our communities. And then from there, it's going to go even wider, and we will think of creating a sense of unity in our country, in the entire country, and then, of course, the world. But the next episode will be about how to do this in our country. So make sure, write down a list of 10 ways that you can start to bring about some positive change and create a sense of unity in your community, and then begin taking action on them. At least one a day. This should not be a difficult thing. You're probably already doing it. So if you already notice that you're doing something every day, then bump it up. Do 2 things every day or 3 things every day. It's time to just pick up the game a little bit, right? Let's do that. And let's make a little bit more effort to create a sense of unity in our community. Until then, you can visit me in our online community at www.expansionmastery.com. You can check out all the comments there from the blogs that I've posted and see what kind of incredible community we've created online. And you can order your Appreciation Mastery program if you really want to work on opening your heart, raising your vibration so you can connect to your community. That program is absolutely incredible. It will do the job. I know it worked for me, and I know it'll work for other people. So I highly encourage you to grab your copy of the Appreciation Mastery Program, available only at www.expansionmastery.com. Until next time, my friends, I wish you the very best in your practices and your life. Take care.